Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How's everybody doing? And here's going to be another weird-ass build. So this weird-ass build is the beach ant. No, not really weird-ass, but we'll get to the weird-ass stuff anyway. So first off, in the east side, this should be literally the easiest amp to build in terms of the east spawn, right? And because it's the easiest and also the easiest to defend, you should not need to overbuild it. It should be a very, very minimal build, alright? And what I mean by that is try to use as little structures as you can to build it, right? So if the spawns over here, spawns over there, which is like not even all the time, but most of the time there's a spawn there with not much husk. And you just want to launch them off the cliff. Launch them off the cliff. Or this one's launching them over here, they go over here, they launch them off the cliff. Launch them off the cliff. And this is also launching off the cliff. This is launching off the cliff. I'm not launching off the cliff over here anymore for various reasons. I'll explain why later. Alright. And then also, you got some lava shield over there. You got a lava shield over here. And you've got a recycling system over here with lots of goodies, alright? Okay, that does it for Beach East, alright? If you have any questions, well, just give it a try. Probably the only other thing, actually, that I should mention is the lava bomb shift. Lava bomb shift is in this tile, this tile, this tile. It lets you build one extra space, so that's a little bit of a good thing. You don't necessarily really need it, but I felt like, you know, might as well go for it, I guess, in this case. And over here, the lava bomb shift is going to be, whoopsies, let me get back up here. This tile, this tile, this tile, and this tile. And you should be able to shift the lava bomb and in this little 3x2 area. And, alright, you're good. Cool. This area over here is literally just for the assassin type husks, where they can become a little bit annoying to deal with, because sometimes they do bash on these walls. You could optionally just block it off with like 3 layers, and you have these layers too, so that you can also do, which is not too much a big deal. But I found this solution to be pretty good. Alright, so let's just go on to the south side then, because that's real. Oh yeah, there's also one more thing too. Probably notice that there's no wall over here, right? You can probably think about, hey, there should be a wall there, or else some of those husks are going to go over here, and some of those husks are going to go over there. Well, yeah, I don't need to, because this is a low impact wall launcher. It has 0 impact just for the trash husks, right? So I actually don't need to do that. And that one over there, 3 times impact, which might get husks on the other side here, but it's not a big deal because this side is going to be low density anyway, right? Once all these husks get launched up down there, and then there's going to be some recycling system, and they're going to get screwed, right? They're never coming back up. So, yeah. South side, here we go. Now, south side, basically I blocked everything off right here. A whole straight line of wall launchers, right? These are all 3 impact, except for these 2. These are going to be 4 impact because this is a 4 tile, right? You're going to launch into the 4 tile, 3 tile launch, right? And these are little, like, kind of 2x1s over here, 2x1, like 2x1. I guess I could put it over here, but I was like, yeah, whatever, don't really need it. Save structures, so I think gas the crap out of everything. Sounds pretty good, right? There's a spawn down here. Sometimes they come over here, or husks get launched over here and they come up here. So, yeah. That's why I have that gas trap just a little bit over here, because they're going to take that little shortcut over here. And up here, there's going to be some more wall launchers, and just trying to launch them out and pretty much just kind of kill them before we get into a full launch area. So this is the full launch area. And one thing to keep in mind too is that the tile before it entered the floor launcher area, literally this tile before I entered the floor launcher area, which is going to be a tar pit, which I generally wish should be a tar pit. Sometimes it can't be helped, but in this case I said, yeah, why not put a tar pit there? I can even put a tar pit down there, but not needed, in my opinion. But yes, this particular tile, it's very important to not have any other crowd control from this other trap over here. So that's why I opted not to put the broadside in over here, right? Reason being is because if the broadside did happen and it stumbled a smasher, it resets their impact, and I do not want to reset their impact. I actually want to purposely have impact on here before they enter the arena, right? Because if they have impact before they enter the arena, it's going to be a lot easier to crowd control them, right? So that's why this is a wall dart and not a broadside, even though the broadside would add more damage, right? If this so it's very rare for a smasher to actually leave here with no impact built up because of the reloads being the wall launcher, right? If the wall launcher actually did activate and launch them, they're going to be launched over here. It's like, oh, well, they're not in that spot anymore, right? Maybe this one will launch too, or but then they have to come back here, and then this one will probably launch. Right? This has a very high probability of going off and hitting a smasher before they actually reach this area. So you're going to be pretty much guaranteed to have some impact damage, right? I do not want to reset them on the broadside yet again. Right? So I do this for a lot of builds. And it's very, very critical, in my opinion, to build up impact before you enter the area where you want to kill smashers using floor launchers. Alright, so let's get into the floor launcher arena. This floor launcher arena, you could, if you want, just put like lots of wall launchers here, wall launchers there, floor launchers everywhere, open space, and just like go ham, which you can do, you know, that's perfectly fine. But I did a somewhat of a modified version of the floor launcher arena, right? And taking into consideration the logic behind each individual wall launch. All right, so if this floor launcher is unsuccessful launching the smasher, because floor launchers always activate before the wall launcher, at least not always, but like pretty much most of the time. Most of the time the floor launcher will activate before the wall launcher. If the floor launcher activates and launches them in the air, great, you did lots of massive fall damage. They'll move on to other things. Now if they doesn't, then this wall launcher would probably launch them in here because they have built up impact from this wall launcher, right? So wall launcher here, floor launcher unsuccessful, wall launcher here, launch them in there if they're still on cooldown, right? And these two activated, right? And then probably this one is gonna kill them, right? Or not, maybe not kill them, but it'll launch them up in the air and do fall damage, right? Go back here. If, for example, we have a situation where wall launcher activated here, wall launcher activated there, and floor launcher activated there, right? That'll be enough impact to launch a smasher up in the air. If only one wall launcher activated, then this activates and this activate, then probably what's going to happen, actually definitely what's going to happen is that the smasher is going to get launched into this corner over here. Alright, so they get launched in the corner over here. Tar Pit is going to delay them for a little bit. The reason why I want to delay them, because in this situation, the smasher has two different options. One going west, the other one going north, right? So there's pretty much like a 50-50 chance that they're going to go either way because it is the exact same distance, right? So if they choose to go on the original pathing towards the west side, then they're going to go back over here, assuming that these still have activated before this wall launch. These might activate and actually do something. All right. If they activate on that wall launch, then these don't really do anything, right? Because every time when you have a wall launch over here, it activates the last remaining traps. Right. So that's a little bit of a, I guess, kind of an, I wouldn't say an issue, but it's kind of an annoyance in anything. But these are still not useless, right? A smasher, which can happen. Sometimes they do want to detour instead of going to the shortest path. Sometimes they do detour and take a little pathing over here, which is, I guess, okay, fine. If this wall light is unsuccessful in stunning them, right? Because this wall light will activate before the floor launcher, right? Wall light activate, it doesn't stun them. Floor launcher activate, they'll get launched. If they get stunned from the wall light, fair enough, they get stunned. Whoop-de-doo, right? They get delayed for a little bit anyway, right? Which helps buy some time for the reloads on other traps, right? And if they now let's go back over here. Wall launch happens, right? A successful wall launch happens, right? Given that maybe this activated, right? This activated and this activated, right? And then, woo, they're stuck over here. Now let's suppose they take the detour path, which is towards the north side, right? They take the detour path towards the north side. What's going to be happening is they're going to go on this tile, right? All right, fine. What's going to happen here? This wall light activate, this wall light activates, and then floor launcher activates, right? Two wall lights activate before the floor launcher. This is the 94,000 impact combo I sometimes talk about, which is 94,000 impact combo was referring to, right? Right, 94K, right, or 90. Not exact, like that's not the exact amount. Probably the true amount is somewhere between like the actual true impact value, which it takes to launch a smasher up at the very highest level, is somewhere between 22 to 23,000. I don't know the exact amount because it takes a lot more testing, but I do know for sure that the 94,000 works, right? The 94,000 with the 2 wall lights and the floor launcher. And what do I mean by that? It's this trap right here, which has 22.5% increased impact to knockback, right? Which is going to net you to 25,000 impact, right? So that's 25,000 impact. There's 2 wall lights, right? 2 times 25 is 50. So you have 50,000 impact from the wall lights alone. Then we add the floor launcher, right? The floor launcher is going to have 44,000 impact, right? Which is going to add up to approximately 94,000 impact, which is sufficient for launching a smasher up in the air at the highest possible level in Twine Endurance, which is power level 334. All right, I've tried doing some calculations, like plotting points. One of my friends was doing that Dyson. He was trying to plot points and see if you can interpolate them. And it seems like the closest possibility is a quadratic interpolation. I can't remember what the exact amount was. It was like something like. It was something like this. It was something like this. Quadratic interpolation with x being the power level. But we don't know the exact true amount, because every time we tried using this formula, it'd be like, hey, there's something slightly off still. I don't know. But anyway, I think I'm being a little bit off topic here. But essentially, this is a combination that can always guarantee to launch a smasher up in the air, guaranteed. And this particular wall light is actually a different one. This is the regular one that you're probably really familiar with 6.5 reload and 35,000 impact, right? But this one is slightly different. This one is actually going for less reload speed, right? A 7.7 second reload and 25,000 impact. Reason why I'm using a lower impact value is because so this can work at lower levels. 50,000 impact is actually quite a lot of impact, and it's too much for the smashers at the lower levels to use this combo, because 50,000 impact is actually sufficient enough to stun the smasher, right? So because of that, I chose to go for the lower value, right? The lowest possible impact value I can get away with to successfully launch a smasher up at the highest level, right? And this is it, 25,000. If you do 35,000, you're going to go up to 70,000 impact instead of 50,000 impact, and it's not going to work for actually several levels. So that's why on purpose I just use this. It's also cheaper too, because you only need to level up in the schematic XP and some other crap, and I only legendary perk the last one because I don't need to do perk up the other ones, right? The reason why I have 7.7 seconds is because so it can line up with the reload of the floor launcher. The floor launcher is 8 seconds, right? This wall light 7.7 seconds, so it's actually better to line them up as close as you can so that they can activate together, right? If the wall light activated way too soon, before the floor launcher is even ready, then what's going to end up happening is that the smasher will walk through the first set of wall lights. It'll walk through this first set of wall lights here, right? They won't get stunned, right? Because the because 50,000 impact's not enough, and they get to the other one, right? It doesn't have enough time for this floor launcher to actually activate, right? So this is why I'm using, slower reload speed on these wall lights so that they don't actually activate. If a smasher does come in here, right, and these has already activated from a previous smasher that walked through, then those go into the next style, which get impact comboed, right? So that's why I want these impact combos to work together and not separately, right? So 7.7 seconds is the reason being. You could, if you want to, you could try using for a slightly slower reload speed at 49%, which is one blue perk and one green perk on the reload speeds, which will be 49%, and that will give you 8.1 seconds on the wall lights, which can also work too. The only thing is that if you have consecutive if you have 3 consecutive activations of these wall lights without any buffer, what's going to end up happening is that these wall lights are going to end up activating before, they're going to be activating after the floor launcher, which is bad because then they're going to be off sync, right? If they have wall lights activate after the floor launcher, you can't use this combo, right? And the problem is that because it's over it's going to actually take a full 8 seconds to reset those combos, which I don't really want, right? So this is why I went for a slightly faster one at 7.7 seconds. All right, so I think maybe you get the impact combo. All right, so 94,000 impact right here. The floor launcher activating at the very end. Boom, they're going to get launched. All right, next one. 94,000 impact combo with the floor launcher at the end. Boom, they're going to get launched. So 2 guaranteed launches in just 2 tiles. That's very strong, right? When it comes to wave 26, when it comes to wave 29, which it can attack this ant, right? At a 4-player difficulty, it takes more than 2 floor launchers to launch up a smasher, right? Because it takes more than 2 floor launchers to launch up a smasher, then this combo becomes really, really handy because now instead of using 3 tiles, you just used only 1, right? Which is amazing, right? Unless you use a weapon in conjunction with floor launchers, then you could probably reduce that down to 2, right? Like for example, people use the Yaomen to get extra impact, so that when they're on the second floor launcher, they'll just launch, right, without getting to the third one because they shot them for extra impact. All right. So once they actually survive these 2 tiles, right, they'll get over here, which then is a tar trap, right, which is going to help buy time, and also it's going to launch them just way the hell back, and that's a 4 times impact to launch them all the way very back, right. In the case, sometimes they may activate these traps, which is not a big deal. They never run out of durability anyway. At least in my runs, I have never seen a wall light or a full launcher run out of durability with 5 times impact, for the purpose of launching up larger husks for fall damage, right? So once they launch over here, and then maybe some of these traps will activate, which is fine, right? And they'll just walk right back up. There's going to be an added delay anyway, right? But if in the event that is from the south spawn, they're probably not going to activate because one of these has already activated previously to get to this location, so that's also perfectly fine. If this is over here, right? If they're let me go back here. So suppose they actually pass these tiles and nothing happened to them, right? Because cooldowns or whatever, right? They get to this tile, launch up in the air, fine. All right, cool. They take fall damage. If they don't get launched up in the air and this activates or a successful wall launch, they get launched in over here, right? In a similar situation over here with the tar pit, they're going to buy some time, right, for reloads and stuff. And they walk in this tile, instant full launch up in the air, right? Over here is a tar pit with some wall launcher, right? If they're coming from the south side, actually, if it's a smasher, they're probably not gonna. They're actually for sure not gonna be able to get launched back over here because they probably because if it was a impact reset, it's either gonna reset over here or reset over here, right? So, and in any case, they're gonna have 0 impact built up basically once they reach over this tile. And then this tile will probably not launch them, and then over here they'll probably do something, right? If the full launcher is successful, it'll probably launch them in here. If the wall launcher is successful, it'll launch them back here. Alright, so this case is pretty much the exact same over here. It's just that this one's longer, this one's shorter, right? And this one has 3 times impact because it's a shorter distance to follow through. And over here, so this one launches up in the pit. This one does launches up back there. This one also launches in the pit, and this one also launches in the pit. This is a 3 times, and this is a 4 times, or this is 4 times. This is 3 times. I don't remember, but they're offset anyway to begin with. I put this over here as an extra little bit of a delay, so they don't take a really sharp turn. I know a lot of people don't use these, but I find them sometimes in certain situations they can be useful. Alright, so that is pretty much the south side in terms of the tunneling. In order to talk about the block offs, right? Block offs are actually very important in this. I'm going to start over here. Alright, it's probably very common to see smashers charging through this over here. Alright, and I think the successful solution I found is to first of all, not build any walls in here whatsoever. So no wall here. No wall here, no wall here, no wall here, right? Do not build walls here, please. Alright? But you can build slants. Slants are perfectly fine because smashers do not charge these. Alright? So what I do is I build these 2 stairs in here, and these 2 slants in here, and this little bit of additional layering in here. You can this wall over here is perfectly fine. This is perfectly fine. You can have that wall there. But just don't place walls elsewhere in here. Alright? I have this over here because sometimes a tornado or whatever, sometimes a smasher can actually get launched right in here, and it's like kind of bad, rare, but you know, I put it there just as a safety measure. And over here, in each of these tar pits, you actually have a lobber shield because there is no roof here. If there's a roof over here, what's might end up happening, which is not common, but it can happen, is that if a larger husk is overlapping 2 tiles on the edge here, they're going to just bonk their head, which is going to be kind of pointless, right? And same thing over here, they're just going to bonk their head, which might become pretty pointless, or they might just get knocked up like somewhere really where you don't want them to be, causing you trouble. Like I've seen sometimes like a flinger. Wait, actually, yeah, I think I saw a flinger once, like right over here, because one of my the UFO shot down here, right? And then the flinger eventually came over here because I had destroyed a good amount of my trap tunnels, and they came over here. Here they got bonked and they got flinged up here. So really weird random situations, but a lobber shield for a flingers is actually pretty useful if the situation comes to it, right? And same thing here, there's a little bit of lobber shield, right? And also another thing to really keep in mind is every time you do any sort of tunneling in this south amplifier, it's very, very important to have a sufficient lobber shield because you're not going to have time to deal with anything, right? Because you're going to be shooting the UFO, right? So this is why in here, on this tunnel, I actually build multiple layers here. 1 and 2 with the roof, right? To ensure that if they want to break this tile, they're still not going to fling because they have to break through this and have to break through the other tile, and they have a roof anyway. So, all right, and over here, there's additional block offs in here in this tunnel. In this tunnel block off is actually not for the south side in here, it was actually for this side over here, these tunnels, so that if they get over here, they won't be encouraged to break through into the tunnel in here. Alright? As well, this block off over here for the south side, and these wall launchers, line of wall launchers. What I do in here is pretty much start with the flat roof, right? Flat roof it out, and build a complete pyramid all around it. Complete pyramid all around it, right? And what ends up, at least what I believe to be true, is this helps block a lot of lobbers, a lot of flingers from trying to break out. Same with this little shield up here, right? And then additionally, you're going to have another layer over here like this. At least this is what I have, right? And to make sure they don't break in from this side over here, you need to make sure that this layering is up over here, right? 3 layers over here, which is also very normally for a valley build anyway, right? All right, and there's probably another thing I need to talk about is the UFO, or the amp too, actually. The amp, I make sure to build all around this, right? Blocking off everything in here. And this side is open a little bit, which is actually okay. I've never had an issue with the flinger trying to fling from here. It could be a possibility that a flinger may be down here for some reason. Like for example, it somehow came all the way here, got launched in there, or somehow came all the way in there, got launched in there. If you feel safer, you can put the block offs over here, right? But I personally, I've never had this issue. Not yet, at least. I have not had this issue, right? But if you feel safer, you can go ahead and block this out with those with these walls, right? All right. So from here, the amp, I cover up the amp completely, a little bit more than what other people do in normal amps, and the reason being is because if a flinger is actually successful and be able to fling at your base and have a target, then this at least would help protect it a little bit, because at least they won't. They'll just try to break up on top, right? Or they might break it up from over here, right? So I just have a little bit more than usual, just so that they don't go instant gib the, well, not instant gib, but instantly deal damage to the amplifier. For the UFO, I have a little bit of a contraption over here. I guess it's a little bit overbuilt compared to what most people do, but maybe I'm just a fancy boy. Jump up here. Jump up here, jump up here, and the UFO is just literally 1 tile above you. It's easy for firing. Alright? And this is pretty much the, I guess, anti-taker UFO helper thingy-mabob, right? Essentially, when you have these poles over here, the takers actually do not follow you. They cannot path up these poles, right? But if you use a flat wall, they actually can path up those, right? So you got to be careful there, right? That's why I'm just using these poles. But you keep in mind that these poles have a lot less health than walls, right? Like, look at this, is 4,000, and this is 7,300, right? There's a lot less health. So you just gotta be careful on the tornado waves because they can deal damage to this wall, to this little pole. Generally, it's not much though, but you just gotta, keep that in mind. Alright, this is just extra support in case that somehow the entire amplifier is naked for whatever reason. This is extra support to make sure that this is still standing and you can still shoot UFOs. Alright, I think that should be it overall in this build. I don't think I'm missing anything. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe it took a look at the beach amplifier just a little bit differently than usual, or maybe I'm just boring you out of whatever. But anyway, enjoy building this. Alright, you don't have to copy exactly what I do, but you should have your own kind of creativity of what you want to do with it. But I think there's probably some important points that you can probably take away from the video. Alright, so enjoy.